When we were asked to co-host this event, the Tanzania Startups Week, the first thing that came to us, we said, when you're thinking about the private sector, we think in a gigantic way. But what the Startups Week does to you is like, no. When you're thinking of innovation, you have to think about it differently. In the $1 trillion economy that we're looking forward in 2050, what is it? And what can we do to have a role come 2050? In order for all this to operate, what the aspirations of the DIRA 2050 say, we do have some transformative sectors that we need to really give, to prioritize. And these transformative sectors, there are 9 of those. We do have some drivers that we believe they will also help us to really achieve the aspirations of the DIRA 2050. Quite a number of the transformative sectors do depend on you, the startups, the innovators. I was really happy just to have a glimpse of what you guys can do. But then some of the drivers that are going to make all that possible will also mean there is a lot of work for us working together, and we've heard this since morning as to how we can go about that. So when we're thinking about the human capabilities, we want to include everybody, including both the men and the women, the young and the old, the ables and the disabled, everybody. We want to include them, the ones who are in urban areas, the ones who are in the rural areas, the ones who are closer, having closer access to electricity, the ones who are really in remote areas and don't have access to electricity, no technology. So I really like the guy who got a lot of claps and at the end of the day thanked us, because he showed, when you're saying SMS, you're like, yeah, you're reaching all those who are far there. But importantly, we want also to create new employment pathways when we are developing the capabilities and social development. I thought I also showcase, because I mentioned the drivers that are really needed to make sure that we are really able to reach the aspirations that we've raised. The first one is in logistics. And here we're talking about improved efficiency through digital tracking, fintech-enabled payments, and data-driven supply chains. And the second bit of the other drivers is on science and technology. And here we are saying we need to translate research into scalable, but then the word I think earlier was commercialize research. So those are the kind of things we want to do on the science and technology, collaborating, in partnerships with university. This is on the side of research. And then the other bits that is also very important as a big driver is digital transformation, in particular being able to adapt into the use of ICT across commerce, health, education, agriculture, and finance. And then the next driver. Without that, we shut this room and we all go and we say, it was nice meeting you and kwaheri. The next one is energy. It's one of the biggest driver that will ensure that we are really able to achieve what we want, what we are aspiring in the DIRA. We need to expand access of not only clean, but it need to be affordable. Not only affordable, but also the ones that are off-grid. We also need to support industrialization. Lakini you guys who are into innovation, you need a lot of energy. The transformative sectors that I said were 9, and these are the sectors. We have Kilimo, and most of you that we had earlier, 2 of the 3 were from there. We also have tourism, manufacturing, but also we have mining, construction, real estate, blue economy. What I'm trying to say is, in your world, in the startup world, you can come up with something that can enhance the work of these transformative sectors. They are already given out as a priority. So if you can come up with something, the market is there for you to flourish. And all these transformative sectors, they have one thing in common. First, they create a lot of jobs. And then second, the beauty for somebody like me from the government, they bring a lot of revenue to us, so that we can offer the other services that we are supposed to. And the third bit, in as much as they bring revenue to the government, they also really help to improve the livelihoods of many people. I sincerely believe that the startup movement in Tanzania will be a key pillar of a $1 trillion economy of Dira 2050. Let us build the future where one accountable, innovative, well-governed startup at a time. Nawashukuruni sana kwa kunisikiliza. Asante.
So, Kaka Ivan, before we dive into the heavy topics, I know you have worked in technology, finance, an ecosystem around several markets. So what's originally sparked your passion into the financial system in Africa?
So I'm an economist by training. Lucky for you, we are in a place where there's no shortage of challenges to solve across many areas. So obviously many opportunities. Thanks.
So you don't have to send email kwa HR kuomba kazi?
No, not anymore, but I receive many emails from young people looking for work.
Thank you. So Tanzania 2050 has a vision of a $1 trillion economy, which relies strongly on digital infrastructure. So from a perspective, what should a future-ready digital financial system look like?
Yeah, I think this is a very important one. I know $1 trillion is a very bold target. And when we say the financial system infrastructure, let's put aside the loans at the moment, because immediately everybody will think, will I be able to get a loan?
True.
But before we even get there, Tanzania by its economy is really service driven. I know, yes, we do agree it's around 25-30%, but 50% of the economy is services. What are these? Tourism, logistics services, trade, retail and wholesale trade. So there's a lot of activity that's happening in services. If you look at the outstanding 40 trillion or so lent by the banks right now, 40 trillion in lending, most of those are going to personal and trade. Maybe almost 50% is going to personal loans and trade related loans. Most of the personal loans are going to do some sort of services or invest in small businesses, not just to pay for schools, etc., etc. So there is an opportunity to build a financial ecosystem that reduces the frictions and the barriers to trade. The better we get at catalyzing trade, facilitating trade. You know, when we keep hearing kuna muhogo Kisarawe unauzwa kilo bei hii lakini ukija ndani bei mara tatu, that's all about the friction of the trade in between. So there's a lot of room to improve there, and the financial ecosystem is critical. Whether there are things that should be paperless, there are things that shouldn't use cash, there are things that should be much shorter than they are. If you observe any of those three, there's room for a disruption that creates value, and possibly there are people along that chain who are willing to pay for that value.
So which countries have built this well, and what can Tanzania realistically borrow or adapt?
I think different countries have had different progress. Right now, as we embark on 2050 vision, the first 5 years, which will be called FYDP 4, 5-year development vision 4, which will run from 26 to 30, is trying to make Dar es Salaam or Tanzania a financial hub. What does that mean? That is a mantle that right now is either Nairobi or Mauritius, South Africa, and for Northern Africa, perhaps Egypt, Morocco, etc. But we've not ever really tried to distinguish ourselves as a financial hub, meaning the services need to be there, the systems need to be there, the analysts, the young people who are analyzing, not just auditors or accountants or lawyers, but financial analysts need to be there in abundance. The legal framework needs to work, securitization, collateralization. So with that, if we aim for that, it will improve so many things that will help us get there. So Mauritius has done that extremely well, especially for attracting big capital and corporates there. Nairobi's done that well from a startup point of view. All the PEs, VCs are there. So what we're saying is it's more a combination of the two. in trying to make Dar es Salaam a financial hub.
And what do you see? What do you see our biggest gaps today? Is it infrastructure? Is it interoperability? Is it data? Is it trust?
I think we have both. If you look at some of the reports that we used to read from a treasury point of view, one in particular was the APSA Market Index, which was quite informative. An area where we consistently lacked, or we consistently ranked towards the bottom of the pile, was the legal and regulatory framework of the markets. Think of transactions or economic activities driven by transactions. And think of the soft infrastructure, the systems, the rules, the regulations, as whether that road is paved or it's got full of potholes. So if it's full of potholes, you cannot drive 100 kilometers an hour like your fellow colleague in Kenya, Mauritius, South Africa, or India is driving. So getting that right is key.
High-performing ecosystem relies on very strong financial partnership. You've mentioned this very earlier. What partnership are most crucial right now to ensure that Tanzania startups can move from pilot stage to scalable regional businesses? And how do this partnership translate into GDP, productivity, and export growth?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think most startups get this challenge. You have an idea and you immediately walk up to the corporate, the bank. Sometimes if they like your idea too much, they try to think, how can we do this ourselves? And so you're at risk. You need to have that safe place where you can innovate and try and scale your idea. Now we have a ministry of youth, and hopefully through policy coordination, through the likely new policy, youth policy, we'll have a formalization of how institutions can also be held to account or be allowed or be encouraged to work with innovators within their sectors. Hey, you're TANESCO, you're in power. At the end of the year, tell us what you're doing with young people trying to innovate solutions in power.
What do you think are the biggest misconception founders have about investment readiness?
Overconfidence bias, definitely. Meaning, obviously, you understand what you're trying to solve, you understand how it works, and therefore it's a slam dunk. This will work 200%. Now, I think I'm correct. When M-Pesa started,
yes,
it actually started as a loan product, I think. And immediately the use case was more and more towards payment, and then it completely changed. So the M-Pesa founder initially said, no, forget about payments. It's all about lending. We will not be here. But now they're back to the lending. So I think it's good to understand the risk and try and test it out. Get a devil's advocate to poke holes within your strategy. Do what's called a pre-mortem. These are the things that can go wrong, and this is how I'll solve them, rather than just going 100%, everything is hunky-dory.
And from the capital perspective, where do you see the biggest leaks? Places where capital should be flowing, but capital is not flowing.
I think we have a lot of trade and retail services, like I said. So a lot of capital, money, working capital is being used, importing, buying, and selling. I think there could be more capital going into investments that try and make the process easier, reduce the cost. Obviously, at an economic level, there's a lot of capital that's going to go into more intense mining, infrastructure, agri. These must be so for the economy. But I would really like the startups here to focus a lot on money that's going into the services, especially trade, retail and wholesale, tourism, promoting the southern circuit. How do we get more tourists from China? We are very much Western based in terms of the tourists that come. China is 1.4 billion people. They're already here. They understand the place. So there's a lot of that can be done in the service space.
Thank you. Digital economies run on people, not just technology. And what talent gaps do you see in Tanzania today? And how can we develop the skills needed for a fully competitive digital economy?
when it comes to digital economy, we sort of all want to swim, but no one wants to get that shirt out and dive into the water. We want to have a digital economy, we want to have digital footprints, but so much of activities, behaviors, we're so used to cash, we love cash, and behave in a way that's not really going to digitize. Now for the businesses, especially startups, even the other services business that already exist, the fact that if they're able to create some digital footprint of what they do over time, that will be very valuable. Every real person needs to have a digital persona type footprint of their business or of themselves to make them more bankable.
If you're advising the country directly right now, and you're to pick 3 strategic priorities Tanzania must execute before 2030 to stay on track to achieve the $1 trillion economy, what are the top 3 non-negotiables?
People and skills. I think we can improve our economy a lot if we make productivity gains. That means for the labor and capital that goes into any activity to get more output out of it. So it's the kind of technology that goes in, but also it's the skills of the people doing the work. So investing in that is extremely important. 2, I think the financial services as the means by which resources are moved and passed around between one area and another needs to continue to be improved. The financial sector is growing very, very rapidly at the moment. It's contributing just under 5% of the economy, growing at almost 15% per annum. So that's the area where there's room to really put a lot of capital in people's hands through different ways, not just banks, but also through other alternative mechanisms. And in particular, how are we finally going to pull together all of these empowerment type money and really create a fund that works and understands and unlocks things? And the last one would be energy. I think energy is extremely important. Most of the developed countries, if you overlay that with either the energy per capita or the power that they produce, it's not even debatable. You must have the right amount of energy being produced. And the way we're going with AI and data centers are so thirsty for power, we need to have a lot of energy being produced from the economy.